And both the House and Senate are readying votes as Congress works to avoid a government shutdown. Immigration at the border and aid to Ukraine are shaping up to be some of the key issues in negotiations. Far-right House Republicans are insisting on cutting the aid and increasing security at the border. If the government shuts down, hundreds of thousands of federal employees would be furloughed or forced to work without pay. Plus, a variety of government services would also be disrupted. So to break this all down, Larysa Kautz joins us. She's the president and CEO of Melwood, a nonprofit that provides jobs and opportunities for people with disabilities. Melwood provides services to clients in both the private and the state, local, and federal government sectors. So talk to us about how a government shutdown would impact the work of your nonprofit.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. So Melwood is a social enterprise and a nonprofit, as well as a federal contractor. Our mission is to ensure that employment opportunities for people with disabilities are growing and getting more varied. We have 1,000 people employed on our federal contracts through the Maryland, Virginia, and DC areas, and more than 700 of whom have significant disabilities. You know, most people don't consider that in addition to a loss of income for direct federal employees, contractors are impacted too. And when you think federal contractor, you think of a large nationwide business, but many people don't think about my employees and other employees of nonprofits in the Ability One program that are providing diligent, quiet, important services across a variety of different agency sites.
So, Larysa, how are you and your teams preparing for the case that there is a shutdown?
So we're preparing at the same time as we're advocating for a swift resolution to any shutdown that occurs so that our employees can continue to work and earn. You know, we're talking to our employees and all of our supervisors to give them as much insight as we can and the potential impact for each contract and each site that we have. You know, a lot of this is up in the air until we get greater guidance from the agencies. But, you know, we're helping our employees understand that we'll be working very hard to ensure that they don't have a gap in income or a loss of health benefits, depending on how long the shutdown goes. You know, the uncertainty, it's really challenging for everyone, but particularly for individuals with significant disabilities that really do thrive on consistency and a schedule and the dignity and independence that work brings to their lives. So we really want to communicate and really balance all of this uncertainty and anxiety for them and make sure that their well-being are our top priority.
So, Larysa, in this scenario where there is a shutdown, is there a deadline? Is there a date after which Melwood would not survive?
Ooh, that's a tough one. You know, we'll be okay for a little while. You know, we've got benefits reserves. We have thoughts about how to keep our employees whole. But the longer we don't have funding coming in, the more we need to cut back on some of the other services that we offer. You know, Melwood is unique in its status as an Ability One and nonprofit entity in that I don't have shareholders or stockholders that I have to provide profits for. What I do have are community stakeholders. So in addition to keeping my employees employed and being invested in their well-being, the margin that we have on these contracts, we reinvest that into the community. We have innovative training programs called like Abil IT, which trains people with disabilities for jobs in tech and tech adjacent fields. The longer we don't have funding coming in for the contracts that we provide, the less I'll be able to invest in some of that other community funding that's really necessary to bring people with disabilities to the next level. So really, I hope if the congressional delegation is listening, you know, the hope is first that federal contractors are not completely left out in their efforts to provide back pay for those employees affected by the shutdown. Traditionally, federal employees are paid back pay, but really employees of federal contractors are not traditionally considered in that space. And then really just with greater urgencies, we have so many individuals and families of economic backgrounds that are going to be affected by this shutdown. They're living paycheck to paycheck. They're the ones that have kept our economy running throughout COVID, right? The custodians, the landscapers, the warehouse employees. We need to not forget them.
Thank you so much, because it's so important to really shine a light on who is affected. Larysa Kautz, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. You're welcome.